Okay. Dear college and participants, welcome to 70th International Health Science and Management Congress. Our Congress, which has a rich scientific content, continues efficiently and successfully with session, free papers, and panels that will be held with the contribution of scientists, health manager, representatives of health and private health institutions from our country and various countries of the world. First of all, I would like to thank the panelists because each of them has a very busy schedule and they agreed to contribute to our panel by taking time for us. I am really excited, and I think that the panel which we hold with our guests from different countries who are highly experts in their fields will contribute great to the field of health tourism and open new horizon for us. We will talk about the sustainability and potential of health tourism. The first keynote speaker, Professor Frederick De Micro, will give her talk on innovation in medical tourism, medical travel, and the hospitality, bridging healthcare, H2H, and the patient guest experience. Now I will introduce you to Professor Frederick De Micro. Yes, our first panelist, Executive Director and Professor Frederick De Micro from Northern Arizona University. He works at the School of Hotel and Restaurant Management. He has academic studies on health tourism and hospitality. He conducts courses such as Destination Management, Introduction to the SPA Management, Cruise Ship Management. Now we are listening to the Professor Frederick De Micro. Here you have the word.
All right, thank you, Dr. Tassan. Good evening, and it's good morning here from Arizona. It's seven something in the morning, so I was up early. Look forward to speaking to you. I'm glad to see my dear friend Irving Stackpole. He's the expert on medical travel, medical tourism, and I've done quite a bit of work in that as well, and I'll share some of that. I'm going to take a little different tack. So if I can share my screen, I do have some PowerPoints. Let's see, where are they? Hold on. Let's see. Okay. So let's see here. I had them up here. Okay. Let's see. Hold on a second. All right. Here we go. Okay, everybody can see that okay?
Yes, we can see your screen right now.
Yes,
okay.
Okay.
Very good, thank you very much. All right, so I have quite a bit of material, so let me jump right in. So again, delighted to be here. I'm at Northern Arizona University, and in my
sorry
area,
for interruption, but we cannot see your presentation right now. We see your documents right now. We cannot see your presentation.
I thought you said you could. Okay.
No,
let's see.
Okay. Now we see your screen.
Oh, okay. You see it now.
No, not presentation. We see just your documents. It would be better if you share your direct presentation. You know the.
Open your please.
Yeah.
Your presentation.
Okay, I will stop the screen sharing.
Okay. Let's see.
Now you can share directly your presentation.
Okay. There it is.
No,
see it?
Now it's okay, yes. Now
okay, very good. I can, thank you. Sorry about that. All right. So let's let me just move this window. There we go. So I'm going to take a little different track. We coined the term H2H, which is hospitality to health, hospitality to healthcare. And I'm really interested in this field. I have a background in hospitals. I worked at Massachusetts General in Boston, a large medical center. I've worked in smaller hospitals, but I've also worked for Disney, Marriott, and other companies. So what I try to do is bring these two together. And I try to do that for my students for careers. Because when people travel, say for medical travel, medical tourism, they want a great experience. They want to have a great outcome, high quality events, etc. So what's important is that we bring the hospitality skill set to health and healthcare. And what I like to say is putting the heart back in healthcare, putting the heart of hospitality in healthcare. So under this H to H, hospitality to health umbrella, we have several areas. Of course, hospitals, but we also have nursing homes, life care, continuing care, active adult communities, med spas, on and on. So it's a very, very large industry with great opportunities. So when people do travel, on medical travel, medical tourism internationally, let's say, yes, they will go to hospitals. They'll also go to the clinics. But this umbrella of H to H is very, very large. And the skill sets that leaders need are similar. The other thing is, if you look at the importance of a great experience, we do this American Customer Satisfaction Index, and it's every year. And we look to see how people feel about their healthcare experience. And for hospitals, it's not very high. Hotels are rated high, and that's a good thing. So what we're seeing is a lot of the hospitals are trying to put in play a lot of the hotel and lodging experiences and bring that to the hospital, for example. I know this slide might be difficult to see, but you can see the top rated industries for customer satisfaction. And if you look down towards the bottom, you see that hospitals are rated pretty low, very low at the bottom. And you could see some of the other entities in red related to healthcare. But as I said, restaurants and lodging actually score pretty good. So I think that's why we see that hospitals are hiring people from the hotel industry, people from the hospitality industry to come into their medical centers, into their hospitals. So what business are we in? Hotels and hospitals. Well, a hospital is really a hotel with medical services. And when a person comes in, let's say for surgery, they'll have their surgery, their treatment, and then for the rest of their stay, 75% or so of the services are hospitality services, from dining, entertainment, transportation, rooms, housekeeping, environmental services, we call it in healthcare. So you can see that this H to H reasoning and hospitals and healthcare are very, very similar in their operation, yet hospitals are rated pretty low in terms of consumer satisfaction. So we're trying to change that. So hospitals and medical centers and the like, they're really in the business of creating customer server excellence, right? Customer service. I like to call them the patient/guest, patient-guest, because we want to treat our patients like guests as if they were in a Marriott or a Four Seasons. So what I've tried to do as a professor here is to create examples for our students and career tracks into healthcare, as opposed to going into just hotels or into restaurants. Healthcare is a fast-growing career track, very, very fast, and there's going to be a lot of jobs, especially with our changing demographics and aging as a society. So some of the skill sets that we need, that we bring into healthcare from the hospitality side, the big thing is the customer focus, the patient-guest focus, details, be able to multitask, work with a team, build relationships, have a strong work ethic, etc. So these are some of the skills that we teach in hospitality schools. So our graduates would be able to bring these into a healthcare setting. Now, back in around 2006, in the US, we introduced HCAHPS, which is an evaluation system. It's a questionnaire that patients, guests fill out usually when they're leaving the hospital. And it's very important because there are incentives, financial incentives linked to the degree of service that the patient guests had while they're at the hospital. And this is tied to reimbursements. Medicare reimbursements, which is a US government reimbursement. And there's a lot of money at stake. I mean, we're talking billions of dollars. So it's imperative that the medical centers, the hospitals, do very, very well in this patient experience in delivering a high quality patient guest experience. Otherwise, they're going to get penalized. They're not going to get their full funding. So this is why I've interviewed and I've written where executives say from Four Seasons, Ritz-Carlton, Marriott, or Hilton are starting to be hired at a very good salary and great benefits by hospitals. And one of my former students came from Ritz-Carlton. He was an international vice president of quality, and he's now the vice president at a major medical center in the Midwest of the United States. And he's in charge of many departments, including the emergency room, because they want to have hiring standards equal to hotels in terms of selection of the right employee into the hospital that's going to deliver a great guest service. So these are some of the things we're starting to see. By the way, at the heading, the CXO, that would be someone in charge of the guest experience, right? The guest experience operations officer, CXO. Are there paid internships? Yes. I think for our students, many of you are at universities, yes, healthcare is hiring our hospitality students for internships and also for permanent hire. I'm having more and more of my students going into the healthcare, the H to H, not only hospitals, retirement communities, life care, spas, meta spas, medical centers, and the like. Here's a project I worked on at the University of Texas. It's actually a very large medical campus. I like to call it a campus because it's more than a hospital. You can see it's a very vast network of medical centers for different types of treatments, from oncology to pediatrics to heart, et cetera. And why I was consulting, because they were interested in building a hotel on this medical campus, which we're seeing more and more common because people are traveling, they need a place to stay. I have lots of examples of these, but this one happens to be at the University of Texas. And not only are they going to build a hotel for the patient guest, for an outpatient, they're also going to build a new hotel school. And their major will be hospitality to healthcare. Be the only one of its kind. I was the initial consultant. I still work with the team there. It's a great model. And again, it's to turn graduates into really great experienced leaders in the healthcare setting. So it really is an emerging career track. Now, let me just give you some good references. So if you want to copy this down, you can Google glomed.education. That's our website. And just about everything we've written on this topic and other topics relating to medical tourism and hospitality bridging healthcare H to H, you'll find on this website. And we keep adding to it. It's a free website, and we have many great authors involved. That's just the landing page when you come, and you can see at the top, you have many different topics from research, education, training, releases, et cetera. So this describes what we're doing. I won't read that, but I wanted to make sure you had that URL there, glomed.education, so you could go to that, and you'll find a lot of information. Here's one actually I included because we're starting to see more university-based retirement communities. Now, people are looking for health and well-being, exercise, great food, mental stimulation in classes. So this is a paper that you'll find there, fairly recent, about less than a year ago. We have a paper, we just did a paper on Google Glass and using it in healthcare and how we could use this actually in the patient's room. We'd have their chart, we'd have their information, we'd have a lot of personal information, you know, certainly their family names that are involved in the treatment and some background, dietary needs, prescriptions they're on. It just allows us to have a better interaction with the patient guest in the hospital. The other thing we have, I have a paper on this you'll find in the glomed.education. It's on using robotics. We're starting to see more robotics being used in hospitals, in senior living facilities, particularly in delivery of food to the room. Here's the paper. It's on Hospitality Net. It was published, I'm guessing about a year ago. And there you can read all about using robots. Again, that's the website. I wanted to make sure you had that. And in summary, H2H, hospitality health, really a lot of opportunities for us, a lot of opportunities for healthcare providers, a lot of opportunities for our students, for our faculty to do research. We see this as a growing area, particularly with changing demographics and also people wanting to stay healthy. They want healthful cuisine, they want exercise, they want to learn, they want to travel. And I think this whole area that combines well-being, nutrition, exercise, recreation, good health treatments, and well-being. I think that's really a great opportunity for the future. So that's me. And my email is there, frederick.d'amico. I'd be happy if you want to email me. If I can provide any information, I'd be happy to do. So again, thank you. Thank you all. Pleasure to meet you. And thank you.
Yes, thank you for this attractive, comprehensive and beautiful presentation. We are so happy to hear from you. You have given us different perspective and different horizon. I know it's too early in America right now, and I thank to Professor d'Amico for her support in these conditions.
And thank you, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Do you have any question, suggestion or contribution?
Yes, go ahead, Dennis.
Yes.
Okay, first of all, thank you for your presentation. It was a good presentation. I would like to ask you that what will be the most important thing for about healthcare hospitality in 10 years?
So what would be the most important outcome or skill needed? Dennis, is that what you want?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Well, I think one of our biggest challenges in America is cost. We're one of the highest medical care in the world. So that's a challenge. The other challenge is having good people. You know, it's hard to get nurses. We have a nursing shortage in the United States. And I think that's why we're trying to grow that with the hospitality, looking at it as a career track. So I think labor is a big challenge. And I also think just being prepared and some of the skill sets that I showed earlier on the slide will be very, very important for the future. And consumers will have a lot of options. I know Irving will talk about how they can travel, and they're going to go where they're going to get the best care, best quality, but also a fair price. And in the US, it's very, very expensive. It's, I think, very expensive for people from internationally to come into the US unless they have quite a bit of money to afford that. Now, for Americans going outside, I think there are a lot of bargains and the costs will be low. So I'll let her, I know Irving, he's the expert in this, but I think that's a challenge. The labor and having, talented and skilled employees.
Okay, thank you for answering. And but I'm curious about the cost also. The health ministry does something about the costs, the health costs?
Well, and again, I don't want to steal Irving's thunder, but in the US, we're spending like $3.8 trillion a year on healthcare. It's phenomenal. It's just very, very expensive. And many Americans don't even have health insurance. Last I heard, it was between 40 and 50,000, 40 and 50 million out of our population, about 350 million. So affordability, access are all challenges in the US, although the quality is very good if you can afford the good quality. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, d'Amico. Yes. Do you hear me?
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay. Thank you again for a valuable contribution. Keynote speaker, Professor Dilaver Tengilimoğlu, will give his speech on health tourism in Turkey, past, present, and future. First of all, I would like to introduce you to the professor. Professor Dr. Dilaver Tengilimoğlu works at Heath Department Business Administration of Atılım University. In addition to being the editor of the International Journal of Health Management and many national and international journals, he published his book on health tourism. He has 13 published books, more than 100 articles published in national and international journals, and nearly 100 papers. His fields of study and interest include health institution management, health service marketing, health tourism, public relations, health policy, etc. topics are included. Professor Tengilimoğlu has made great contribution to the development of health tourism literature in Turkey. Yes, hocam sizi alabiliriz. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Hocam sesiniz kapalı.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now it's okay.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tosun. Good evening, everybody. First of all, I will special thanks to Congress management or managers organizing. I will some brief information about health tourism and tourism in the world and in Turkey. You know, health has been one of the basic needs that have been emphasized with importance since the existence of mankind. I have a problem, my presentation. I am so sorry. I would like, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you, sir.
Yes, I am sorry. I am so sorry. First of all, I will explanation some information about the tourism in the world, and then brief information about the health tourism in the world and Turkey. You know, the world population is about 5.5 million people. Approximately 1.5 million population participate in various tourism activities. Health tourism is a big market in this kind of the tourism. You can see the tourism growth in the world. Also, before presentation, he talked about the growth of tourism. $4.4 trillion, big economy, tourism. Also, health tourism, you know, spread 4 or sometimes 2 or 3 big divided parts. In the past, you know, patients used to go from their own countries to more developed countries to get healthcare in order to get better health quality. In this process, the demand for health services began to reverse. Patients in developed countries have started to go to the developing countries to get healthcare as health costs began to rise in 1980s and in 1990s. Particularly in the United States and Europe, patients began to seek more affordable healthcare alternatives. You know, last 2 years, we faced 2 big crises in COVID pandemic crisis. All in the past, we had a lot of crises, and all the crises affected in economy and in life of people, and tourism and health and other tourism affected very much. All the crisis season, health tourism also decreased, and tourism sector is very affected. You can see the some years, for example, 2001, 2008, 2020, we had a big crisis. Also, we will be faced to similar crises in the future. So we had a plan to crisis also in tourism and health tourism. You can see the tourism effects of the COVID. For example, in 2020, 75% tourism sectors affected negatively. 1 million decrease in the number of tourists, and total loss of the 1.3 billion United States dollars expected revenues from the international tourism. We can talk about health tourism after global tourism. Health tourism is the growth faster than the vocational and the other business types. Tourism towards 2030 reported health tourism travel bigger, faster than the vocation and other tourists, I said before. You know, a lot of tourism concept definition. We had a tourism and health tourism explain it. Health tourism is a travel that people make to different countries to trade purpose in order to receive health services or to be healthy more. International patient mobility in the past and right now, many countries to get share from the health tourism market. About, I think, 30 countries try to take part of the health tourism sector. Health tourism and medical tourism also one part of the health tourism, medical tourism. Also, you can see the table figure, dental treatment and cosmetic treatments is a higher percent of the others treatments, medical tourism types. I will pass some slides because a lot of slides. You can see the health tourism types, treatment services, health promotion services, rehabilitation services. Also, we can divide it to main part of the health tourism, medical paradigm and wellness paradigm. Medical paradigm is the reactive behavior, and wellness tourism is a, we can say, proactive behaviors. People after illness demand medical tourism, but the wellness tourism, people demands before illness to be health, try to be health. You can see the some explanation about the factors affecting satisfaction in medical tourism. You can see first factors is the main factors, is the human research, is the important factors, medical tourism satisfaction. Also second important factors, equipment and hardware or technical structures. And then third factor is the cost, and fourth factor is access to information, physical conditions. You can see that many factors may be affected person satisfaction. The factors affecting country selection to health tourism can be listed as follows. As before, I told technology and facilities and high skilled staff personnel. Also, another factors is accreditation, and the other factors is prices, and also geographical location, traditional, cultural opportunities, travel opportunities, foreign language people's speaking. Also, another factor is alternative treatment methods. The other factors is affecting selection of the country or hospital, agreements of insurance company. Preference elements of the health tourist: affordability, accessibility, services quality, reliability, tourism elements, and privacy. You can see another factors, different authors divided 3 or 4 importance factors. Some research showed that factors rated very important: quality of clinical, quality of facilities, reputations, information, price, and ease of travel. Also, destination attractiveness factors also similar. Popular medical tourism destination in the world, you can see that many countries try to get market share. For example, Turkey, hair transplantation, ophthalmology. Hungary is the most focused on dentistry. Poland, plastic surgery, and Egypt, also Mexico, Costa Rica, South Africa, Australia, Thailand. Besides the countries, United States and Germany and the other developed countries, also important health tourism destination. You can see some data about the health tourism. We can talk about Turkish medical tourism adventures. Summarize 5 or 6 main categories. First of all, Turkey is a modern technology we have, and close flight distance, about, I think, 102 point Turkish Airlines flight. Also, affordable medical fees than they compare to other countries. Qualified personnel we have, and then social, cultural, similarly near countries. Touristic facilities we have, and short waiting period, high quality services. Turkish health tourism sectors advantages we can summarize. Turkey has an advantageous position in medical tourism market, offering competitive prices for the most common operations. Some countries compare fees to other, for example, gastric bypass, heart valve replacement, hip replacement, and hysterectomy surgery. Turkey is advantageous than the other countries. Also, we stated before, Turkish Airlines is a big brand in Turkey. Turkish Airlines flying from Istanbul to 120 countries, or 302 cities, and 305 destinations. You can see the Turkish direct flight destination. Health tourism target in Turkey 1.5 million international patients and 10 billion economic size we expected. Also in Turkey, we have a biggest market, for example, hair transplant and the other surgery. There has been a significant increase in the number of the patients coming to Turkey recent years. It can be said that it is in top 10 countries. Also, top 10 global medical tourism destination by value, United States, Thailand, Mexico, Malaysia, Germany, India. Cosmetic surgery also, Turkey is a very, very important country for the patients. Number of the health tourism coming to Turkey year by year, you can see every year is increased. Also, health tourism revenues also increased year by year. Turkey's most preferred branches, for example, aesthetic operation, obstetric surgery, ophthalmology, dental health, cardiology, oncology, bariatrics, organ transplantation, orthopedics, and neurology branches, the most popular medical tourism branch. What kind of countries send patients? First of all, Europe and Balkans, Africa, Middle East, and Russia is the most coming patients sent Turkey. Germany also, Turkish live heavily. Netherlands and France coming from patients. And then less developed countries send the patients, for example, Balkans countries, and also developed countries such as America, England, Germany sent the patients because of the cost of health expenditures. Also, waiting time such as United Kingdom and Netherlands and Canada sent us Turkey. You can some branches which country sent, what kind of the patients sent us. And then, you know, Turkey is taken advantage in elderly age and disabled tourism. Year by year, population is elderly. For example, there are 703 million people aged 65 and over in the world 2019. And another health tourism types is thermal tourism. Thermal tourism is Turkey had an advantage than the other countries. We are the 70 in the world in the treatment field and the first in the Europe source of the mineral sources and thermal facilities. Thermal tourism cities and regions in Turkey focusing on Western region. That's all. We have a short time. I would like to stop the PowerPoint. If you have any question, I will make an answer. Dr. Tosun?
Bitirdiniz mi hocam?
Bitirdim. That's okay. Because time is important.
Okay. We would like to thank Professor Dilaver Tengilimoğlu for his comprehensive and beautiful presentation on Turkey's health tourism potential. Professor Tengilimoğlu contributions of the national health tourism literature, and he is one of the important Turkish academicians. Do you have any question, suggestion, or contribution? Yes. Okay, I would like to say something short. Turkey has entered the health tourism market in the last 10 years, and we think that you will come to the forefront in the market, especially in medical tourism. We are especially good in cosmetic and hair transplantation. We also have a price advantage due to the exchange rate difference. Also, we are good in general tourism, especially we have important destinations such as Istanbul and Antalya. We also have significant potential in the thermal tourism. I believe that we will get the share from the market in coming days. Thank you again for your valuable contribution. Thank you. Hocam teşekkür ederiz. Emeklerinize sağlık.
See you. Thank you.
Yes. Now we move on to the third speaker, Irving Stackpole. With decades of experience in healthcare and senior living, Irving Stackpole is the president of Stackpole Associates Inc., a consultancy he founded in 1991. Stackpole Associates applies scientific marketing principles to develop practical solutions to silent challenge. Using the most rigorous psychological and behavior science research, Stackpole and Associates develops method and design that produce unbiased data yields reliable, actionable recommendations. Stackpole and Associates works collaboratively with Silent to create innovative and practical solutions to the challenge facing organization in rapidly changing markets, including the burgeoning fields of medical tourism. Stackpole and Associates has established it is in the field of health tourism and marketing travel, working to governmental agency, professional association, healthcare providers, and tourism organizations to define marketing, content research, develop marketing programs and strategies, establish brand identity, and implement marketing efforts to attract international consumers from around the world. In addition to publication of many articles in national and international trade magazines, private journals and newspapers, Irving has quoted in the New York Times, the Financial Times, and Forbes. He is editor of Medical Tourism Marketing, the first book published on the subject, co-author of Marketing Handbook for Health Tourism, and co-hosts the Medical Travel Show, a serial podcast. Irving serves a healthcare mentor with European Union's Institute for Innovation and Technology. Yes, now we are listening to Irving.
Teşekkür ederim. Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Tosun.
You are so kindly and gentlemen.
It's a pleasure to be here. And how much time do I have? The first challenge is time.
I think it is okay. We want to listen to you because of...
Well, thank you. But even the most interesting person has his or her limits, but I'll do this as quickly as I can. It's a pleasure to be here, and the content of my presentation is at a strategic level. So those of you who are students, those of you who are practitioners will recognize that my approach to the subject is at a fairly high level and is based on my many years of experience, research, and practical approach in the field. So the point in the future to which I believe these markets is headed is a hybrid future, and I will dig into what I mean by that. So the frame, the context for what I'm going to be talking about is the World Trade Organization and the General Agreement on Trade and Services between countries. The General Agreement on Trade and Services, everything gets abbreviated, or GATS. I'm going to talk about the type of commitments that countries and regions make toward health tourism. And I'm going to talk, of course, we have to talk about the supply and the demand side shocks that we've recently experienced through 2.5 years of COVID, which exposed the vulnerabilities in the historical way of approaching the medical tourism and health tourism markets. I'm going to propose that we, as those who are involved in these markets, that we look at ways to move from the opportunistic approach, which has dominated every country's approach to medical tourism, every provider's approach to medical tourism, and it's been my pleasure to work in Turkey with providers there. They're no different than every other country's providers. And I'm going to propose new models, which we will see emerge. Dennis asked a very intelligent question. Where do we see the provider in 10 years? Where do we see these markets in 10 years? And my attempt here is to look at where things will be, both in the near term, say 2 to 3 years, as well as in the longer term. So this is the model for the General Agreement on Trade and Services, or GATS. And usually when we talk about, or many people talk about health tourism or medical tourism, what we are referring to is a consumer traveling across a border for the express purpose of consuming health, wellness, or medical services, some range of those services. But as we can see from this table, there are 3 other forms of trade in healthcare services that the General Agreement on Trade and Services identifies. And my observation is that the markets for mode 2 medical services, travel for medical services, have declined, will remain declined, and are not the future of these markets. You'll notice that I don't call it a business, I don't call it an industry, I don't call it a sector. Health tourism is none of those things. Health tourism is a highly fragmented set of highly regional markets for highly specialized services, and where the infrastructure, where the terms of trade, where the motivations of the consumers are so profoundly different, how could it be elsewhere, anything else? It is a highly fragmented set of regional markets. And here's what they look like. This is the distribution, market distribution for mode 2 cross-border trade in medical services. So at one end of this scale, we have high frequency or high volume, low unit value services, such as simple cosmetics, non-invasive cosmetics, dental services. A little more invasive might be hair transplants, which are very popular in Turkey. And then on the other end, you have very low unit volume, but very high unit value services, such as very complex surgeries. And I'll get back to this graph later on when I'm talking about the hybrid future of these markets, because this distribution is extraordinarily important, very poorly understood and not well embraced by governments and providers. So you basically have two ends to these markets. You've got the high volume, low unit value, and you've got the low volume, high unit value types of exchanges. So in these markets for traditional cross-border travel by consumers to consume medical services, we see two sides of this market distribution returning after the pandemic shocks. The first is the low acuity, high frequency, but low unit value. So people, my colleague Laszlo Pusko refers to this as the self-indulgent or narcissistic side of the market. And indeed, we see consumers defying cross-border travel regulations to get to their Brazilian butt lifts. We see consumers defying travel restrictions to get to Turkey for hair transplants. The other side of the market that's returning are the highly urgent, life-threatening types of procedures. So we see individuals and families, for example, traveling for cancer treatments for their children. We see individuals traveling for treatments for desperate, last gasp treatments for cardiomyopathies. We see those two ends of the markets returning. The middle part of the market, which had been the most highly profitable for many destinations and for many providers, this middle part of the market will return very slowly, and in some cases will not return at all. So the legacy of international medical travel programs as they have been constructed, and this includes in Turkey, but across the world, I know we have people from all over the world on this program, they have been what we would describe as opportunistic. They have been privately financed. They have included a very limited number of partners. So that means that the focus has been very narrow. They have focused overall on low complexity services, and they have tried, which is very shrewd, tried to lead with their strengths. So if a destination such as India believes that its strength is purchase power parity, the arbitrage between their currency and other currencies, they're going to lead with that. And what that looks like is, come to India, we are cheap. Which unfortunately, even as I say that, rings very hollow, because nobody in health services wants cheap unless you happen to be going for a spa vacation and you're highly price sensitive. The additional legacies of these international medical travel programs is that they tend to be very risk averse. They leverage their purchase power parity of the arbitrage between currency. The Turkish lira has been pummeled in the international markets, and that renders services provided in Turkey as comparatively far less expensive. But price, what we've learned from the research that we've done, is price is one component utility of the decision cycle engaged by consumers and intermediaries, that is to say, government agencies and insurance providers, in considering helping or engaging consumers to travel. So labor is another issue. Is there adequate labor in the destination country or the destination location to care for the consumers? Turkey does not face the kind of labor challenges that other destination providers are facing, and that could be a strategic advantage. But I believe that there has been very little good research done about this. The international medical travel markets have not paid any attention to the, in our opinion, my opinion, to the key performance indicators and how those indicators affect, impact, or potentially benefit the source country. One cannot, if one is Turkey, one cannot continue to extract consumers from source locations without offering some benefit to that source location in the form of skills, in the form of improved health, in other forms, and little has been looked at that. And then finally, of course, the impact on the environment. And anybody in this audience who's younger than 30 years of age will be rabidly and intensely interested on what the environmental impact of the model for medical tourism is. And when you put one person on a large airplane and fly her across an international border to another location to consume care and then fly her back, then you have created a carbon footprint, a King Kong carbon footprint unlike any other. So what we're looking for is we're looking for a way to migrate medical travel, international health travel from opportunistic to sustainable. And what do we mean by sustainable? Well, it has to be repeatable, it has to be scalable, and it has to be financially viable. It has to deliver value for patients. And we hear discussions about cost, high cost, low cost. Value is more important than either of those things. And the value is a calculable benefit or component utility in the trade in cross-border services. And then we also need to look at the impact on the environment. Good, sustainable businesses sit on a three-legged stool of good capital investment, knowledge and skills, and solid labor. Labor will become, Professor D'Amico alluded to this, labor is the Achilles heel in many of these markets and in many of the what we consider to be poorly thought through national and regional plans for effective cross-border trade and services. Just some references regarding labor, the shortage in qualified healthcare, medical services professionals are extremely well documented, and more evidence is emerging continually. And why would that not be so? Professor Delaver talked about, I hope I pronounced your name correctly, Professor.
Dilaver. Yes, we understand. Yes, Professor Dilaver.
He talked about, Professor Delaver talked about the importance of labor and the impact on the ability to deliver these services. It's extraordinarily important. He talked about the growing elderly population and the shift in the population pyramids in many countries. Well, these shifting population pyramids may be seen as an opportunity, and you and I should have a good discussion about that, Professor, because I happen to disagree with some of your assumptions. But what it does also mean is that the available prime working age population in virtually all of these countries is declining. And where will we find the labor necessary to care for this progressively aging world? Very interesting. So we need to reimagine health travel. We need to reimagine the international cross-border trade in medical health and wellness services. And we need to look at it fundamentally through a sustainability window. And we need to look at it through all four modes of the General Agreement on Trade and Services. We need to expand the commitments to include repeatability, scalability, financial feasibility. We need to anticipate the shocks that are coming both geopolitically and in terms of PPP through the growing global inflationary pressures and the imminent labor workforce shocks that many of us are already trying to deal with. I talked about new models. I would refer you all to Peking University Institute for Global Health and Development as an emerging model for engaging modes 1, 3, and 4 cross-border trade in health, medical, and wellness services as an innovative commitment type. And you will note that these models depend far less and assume not a growing rate of mode 2 medical travel, but a declining rate of mode 2 medical travel, which I believe once we move through the pent-up demand that is now the case, once we move through this pent-up demand, which I believe we will start to see. In fact, I'm certain we will start to see. So the hybrid future, what does it look like? Well, here are those 4 modes of cross-border trade in health, wellness, and medical services. And the first trend we are already seeing is telemedicine, that is to say the transfer of images and information for evaluation, analysis, diagnosis, etc. We've already seen this, the exchange of radiographic images. We're going to see machine learning and artificial intelligence. These words are being used in an embarrassingly incorrect way in the trade publications, but we will see the bona fide application of machine learning, real machine learning, and eventually real artificial intelligence applied to the transfer of standardized data, standardized images, and that will be a boon that will help with the sustainability. So we will see that. That's already started to emerge. We've seen the applications of telehealth, telemedicine, telemental health exploding as the result of the restrictions and supply and demand side shocks of the pandemic. We will see multinational and hybrid risk-bearing organizations where providers from one location will initiate services through various operating entities and partnerships in another location. The United States have been attempting to do this in many ways in sort of an embarrassing carpetbagger, extractive sort of way. We've seen many organizations attempting to do this, but I believe we will see emerge some genuine partnerships where the source countries, the developing economies, the emerging markets will benefit enormously from skills transfer, where the source country has the skills and the knowledge base, and the emerging market has the labor base. And we're going to see more and more of this. If students of industry will be very interested in the analogies as to how Japan dealt with their labor shortages in the extraordinary rapid growth of their automobile industry in the 1970s and 80s. There will be a similar emergence of cross-border trade in mode 3, similar to what occurred in Japan. And then finally, we'll see temporary movement and relocation, allocation, secondment, whatever the word is, of labor and skills from one nation to another nation as an emerging form of trade and health services. And this has been occurring for decades now, where we all know about the Philippines being, for decades, was a net exporter of nurses. Philippine nurses around the world are respected for their caring and their skill. Past decade, they've been exporting less, and they are now keeping that workforce local. But we see Cuban doctors, for example, flying all over the world. And my wife has a very funny story about doing some work in Lesotho in Southern Africa and meeting 2 Cuban doctors in a remote country in Southern Africa. And we will see more and more of that as well. So the conclusions are that the highly vulnerable markets of mode 2 exports in medical services, health services, will be eclipsed. And what got us to this point where we're talking about health tourism here at this university symposium, what got us here won't get us there. And where we are headed is toward a hybrid market where all 4 modes of cross-border trade will be manifest. There will be a renewed commitment to education and research, knowledge and skills transfer. We will be very focused on the sustainability of these markets and not necessarily on making a quick buck or making a killing or seizing market share, but how can we sustainably develop cross-border trade that benefits both the destination country and the source country, destination provider and the source provider. Labor will become the hot topic as the Achilles heel of all of these, and the sourcing of labor will become critical, as well as the skills and how these skills and labor are deployed. And we will see the emergence of new competitors and new models in this new hybrid world. Thank you all very much. I hope that was helpful. And I'm keen, of course, to engage any of you with questions as you may wish.
Yes, thank you, Irving, for this attractive, comprehensive, and beautiful presentation. Your presentation contained very important information, perspectives. Do you hear me? Yes. You gave very up-to-date and original information about the sustainability of health tourism. You are right. We should minimize the risk by making more as digital health technologies and artificial intelligence. Also, I know your schedule and your program is very busy. And thank you very much for executing and joining us. Do you have any question, suggestion, or contribution? I have a question for you, Irving, short question. Which countries do you think are leaders of medical tourism industry? And how do you evaluate the Turkey potential and it is placed the market as the outsider? You are outsider, and I want to learn your opinion about Turkey at medical tourism.
Well, that question should be the subject of another panel because it's not a simple answer. The component utilities, and those of you trained in market research or behavioral science or economics will understand what I mean by that. The component utilities discussed by the Professor Dillever, I hope I said your name correctly, sir, please forgive me.
Yes.
The component utilities vary by country and by source country. So if you think exclusively of the cross-border travel of a consumer from one location to another location, the component utilities change if you think about a second surgical opinion program or a rehabilitation through remote care monitoring or telehealth, telemedicine, telebehavior. So the question is not as simple as it makes out to be. There are a number of people who have published comparative competitive indexes of countries with regards to health travel. They are all the kindest thing I can say is they are all very thin on the science and very high on the opinion. There's very little science behind those comparisons because the assumptions are not clearly understood. With a professor at Northeastern University, for 2 years, I worked on a comparative index of countries using legitimate published secondary component variables, it's still, and we never published our results, it's extremely difficult to do because it's not an industry, it's not a sector, it's not even a business. There's no standard industrial code because it's just a highly fragmented set of regional markets. So if you're within a short distance from Turkey and you're looking for a hair transplant, Turkey's got it. If you're looking for ophthalmological procedures and you know that Turkey has a very high standard in ophthalmological science, which it has, then you've got that as an advantage. But you still have to overcome a host of other potential barriers and component utilities in order to achieve market share. And even then, it's vulnerable. It's vulnerable, as we've seen through the pandemic. So please, my hope is that we can move the conversation past which country is best for this and which country is best for that, because it trivializes the complexity of the issue. And I'd like to see us move toward a real conversation about what will work and what will be sustainable in these markets. I hope that's not too harsh of an answer, Professor Tosun.
Yes, thank you for your contribution and hope to see you again and nice to meet you, Irving. Do you have any question?
Yeah, may I
Dennis?
ask you a question?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for your presentation, first of all. I missed some part of your presentation. If you already answered my question, you just can skip. And my question is, recently I read an article about alternative tourism in Journal of Health Policy. And it was about moving health professionals instead of patients. The physicians moved to countries and work there for a few weeks and then move to another country. And this model, what do you think about this model? Sustainable?
That's exactly what, yes, it is sustainable, and it is exactly the model that is mode 4 cross-border trade in health services.
Yeah, I saw.
And we will see that growing. The barriers to this, I have to say, are cultural fundamentally, and in some cases, medical legal. So we see these obstacles occurring as the Achilles heel of many of these things. Many of these attempts to develop a business in one location where doctors from another location come in and do surgeries. It's fraught with difficulties, in part because of the parochialism, the protectionism that exists within every sovereign country and within every sovereign medical field. So the ophthalmologists in Turkey don't want ophthalmologists from Germany coming in and dirtying their surgical suites. So we see, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm curious about, is it really common in the world, like moving health professionals instead of patients? Does it come in USA, for example?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the barriers in each country are distinct. From country to country, the barriers to the movement of the health professionals are distinct. But every sovereign nation, almost every sovereign nation, except possibly the US and the UK, will have to deal with this, in part because of what Professor Deliver was talking about, but the obverse side of what he was talking about. Because of the change in the population curve, we're coming to a demographic cliff in the United States, the UK, and Western Europe, where the number of prime working age workforce population is shrinking so dramatically, and therefore the skills base is shrinking and the demand is growing. So there will have to be movement of the skills. You don't, and how do you move the skills? Move the skills through education, through research, and you move the skills by moving the people who are skilled.
Yeah. But it's not good for developing countries, I think.
I think it's very good for developing countries. I think it's a boon for emerging economies, because who has the high concentration of prime working age adults? It's Africa, it's South America, it's certain places in Southeast Asia. And these emerging economies will benefit enormously, because just as what happened with Japan, between 1975 and 1995, they migrated all their technology offshore. And we'll have to do the same thing in healthcare.
Okay. I didn't think about like this perspective. Okay. Yeah, you're right. Thank you. Thank you for your answer.
Thank you, Irving. Yes, thank you, Irving. Hope to see you again in another organization. We will meet to you. Yes, now we move on our fourth speaker. We have two panelists from Poland. Professor Diana Dregli will give her talk on the opportunities and challenge for health tourism in Poland. Now I will introduce you to Associate Professor Diana Dregli and Assistant Professor Adrian Wick. Yes, also Diana will present. Diana Dregli is researcher and academic teacher at Faculty of Management at the IHMC University of Science and Technology in Krakow, Associate Professor of Economics in the field of Management Science, based on the dissertation, Designing a Health Tourism Product Structure Model in the Process of Market and Management. She is also author of the books Shaping Tourism Product of Spa Resort in Poland, Process of Developing a Strategy for Economic Change Management in Komi. Also, she has worked for more than 50 years on EASY relating to the health tourism, spas, wellness, and well-being. She is lectured on this subject in Portugal and has published numerous scientific of popular science article and chapter in this area, more than 50. She has been working on many projects in this field, active participants of national and international conference and congress on economy and management in health tourism and particular management of spa research. And Adrian is researcher and academic teacher and Institute of Management at the Warsaw School of Economics, Poland. His scientific interests include consumer behavior in this area, sport tourism and health. And important research subject, he has focused on the medical tourism management. His work was present at international conference, book chapters and peer-reviewed journals. For example, Tourism Review, Journal of Health, Population and Nutrition, Economic Research, or in Sustainability, Production and Conception. Yes, Diana, we are listening to you.
Thank you very much, Professor, for the introduction and introducing us. Good afternoon, yes. Ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for the invitation to the conference in Istanbul, this magic and unique city. There's a pity I cannot be at the university in person. Me, together with my colleague, Professor Adrian Lubowiecki-Wikuk, are happy to share knowledge about opportunities and challenges for health tourism in Poland. Okay. According to this concept, to this model, health tourism in Poland is an umbrella term for medical tourism as well as wellness tourism. In Poland, therapeutic tourism dominates and is mainly to be found in European spa resorts, an area with special rigor. And I will talk about this mostly later. at the intersection, medical wellness emerged recently in some European countries, especially in Germany, Slovenia, Hungary, and Poland. It involves treatments under medical supervision for people who do not see themselves as sick, but as people who want to maintain their health. So this is something, let's say, new in Europe. There are 45 statutory spa resorts in Poland. Statutory means that they are regulated by a special law. And it should be explained what we mean by spa resort, because it's, I think, something different from what you think it is. So spa resort is a place, is an area with scientifically proven conditions of therapeutic treatment based on natural healing resources like mineral waters, gases, pelloids, to improve and maintain health under medical supervision. So we call it spa medicine. And it has special own methods of treatments, such as, for example, balneology, climatology, hydrotherapy. So such medical, let's say, spa resorts are available in German-speaking countries, the Baltic states like Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Central and Eastern Europe, Russia, and partly France. And when you look at this map, you can see that although statutory spas can be found in all regions of the country, of Poland, their distribution is quite uneven, depending on the geological features of the area. That is why the distribution of natural medicinal resources, such as medicinal waters and gases, translates into a privileged position of southern region here, where one can find the greatest number of watering places in the number of 26. So in the south, you can see these towns, small towns with the name Zdrój. Zdrój means source of water, right? So when you come to Poland, you will see the name of, for example, such a spa resort like Iwonic Zdrój, Rymanów Zdrój, means that this is the place with medicinal water. So it means the same as in Germany, for example, Bad, right? Or in Slovakia, Teplice. Okay, and what we have also, since, okay, maybe I will also come back because I would like to add some other things. It's also worth emphasizing that Poland has one of the richest natural resources of mineral and healing waters in Europe. And in northeastern Poland, so here, where pelloids, so healing muds, occur, the most popular type of spas are peat ones. It's just here. So in the south, we have water, mineral water spas, and in the north, peat ones. And I would like to add that the spa culture in Poland dates back to the 12th century. So it's not so young. But of course, they are older. And since 2011, by decision of Minister of Health, the Middle Ages Wieliczka salt mine is the only underground spa sanatorium in Poland. This is used especially for people with the upper respiratory tract problems. And on the pictures, you can see that people are training in such chambers of salts. And you can see this specific accommodation there. Merely 20%, that is 9 of 45 spas in Poland, which is signed in blue, use geothermal waters for therapeutic purposes with maximum temperature at the outflow of around 20 to 44 Celsius degrees. So it's not so warm, it's not so hot as it is in Turkey, of course. We don't have such a hot thermal water like in Turkey, but it's not so bad. It works somehow. And there are 7 geothermal bathing and recreation centers in Podhale here, which is signed in red, and 7 in Polish lowlands here, which use geothermal water for recreational purposes. So to sum up, we use this geothermal water, of course, for industry, but also for therapeutic treatment and for recreational purposes. And how it looks from the government policy and funding side, because I think it's really completely different from what you have in your country. So the revenues of spa enterprises such as sanatoriums, spa hospitals are mainly generated through contracts with National Health Fund. This is government institution, and the Social Insurance Institution. It is also government institution. And the other revenues are generated through business activity, like the production and sale of natural healing resources such as salts, therapeutic peats, mineral and healing waters. So such revenue structure proves that spa entrepreneurs are heavily dependent on the insurance budget system. So it doesn't look so good because the National Health Fund subsidized spa resort stays only for the total amount of approximately 200 million euro per year. So it's approximately 1% of the annual National Health Fund budget. So not much. And I also, at this slide, would like to add that what is common for all European countries is a gradual move away from spa medicine being fully financed from the state budget. And Poland is currently the only country in Europe where spa medicine is fully financed by the state. As far as profile of tourists to Polish spas is concerned, generally speaking, there are 2 kinds of tourists coming to spa resorts in Poland: non-commercial, so state-funded, and commercial, self-financing ones. And what's the proportion between them? So currently, 66% is are non-commercial, and 34% are commercial ones. And it really helps sanatoriums and spa hospitals to survive thanks to commercial tourists, commercial customers. What is next is that we have domestic demand, which has increased mostly thanks to the coronavirus pandemic. And I conducted research on it for some years, for a long time. I have managed to distinguish 3 clusters, 3 segments in Polish spa resorts: treatment seekers, medical wellness seekers, and tourism seekers in Polish spa resorts. And it's also worth knowing that well-known spas are popular among foreign tourists coming from Germany and Slovakia. And there are also guests from Israel and the Middle East. When we talk about spa infrastructure in Poland, there are currently around 240 sanatoriums and spa hospitals in Poland, constituting 2% of tourist accommodation facilities. Spa hospitals and sanatoriums offer almost 45,000 beds, which comprises almost 5% of the entire tourist accommodation in Poland. And approximately 80,000 people are employed in sanatoriums and spa hospitals. So according to what my predecessor said about labor, well, we can say that it's many people from this sector of spa resorts is really engaged in let's say health sector, tourism sector. And there are over 85,000 people employed in the surroundings of spa facilities, like tourism, recreation, gastronomy, transport, trade, services, culture, creating about 10% of jobs in the entire country and about 2% of Polish great domestic product. And now some examples of spa infrastructure in Poland. This is a pump room in Kudowa-Zdrój, which is decorated mostly by flowers, healthy flowers full of oxygen. So it mostly looks like orangery. And the next, I think, interesting thing is walking hall in Świeradów-Zdrój. People are walking slowly and drinking water using special cups like this one. Probably you are surprised why in such a shape. So this cup has a special shape with this spout because it prevents teeth rate on the teeth due to mineralization of the water. So that's why such a special kind of cups. Okay, here we can see a sanatorium in Lądek-Zdrój. It's quite old one, and this is situated in the south of Poland. And here is sanatorium in the north of Poland at the Baltic Sea. It is in Kołobrzeg, more modern. We have also bathhouse in Krynica-Zdrój. Krynica-Zdrój is in the south of Poland. This is close to Kraków, where I live, the cultural capital of Poland. And this is a pair of Polish spa resorts called Polish Davos. We have also graduation tower in Ciechocinek, and this is unique and the largest in Europe brine graduation tower made of blackthorn, and people walk around and inhale the aerosol. And this is about 2 kilometers long. This is really a spectacular wooden, let's say, machine, right? Here we can see well-organized, really nice, flowerish spa park in Ciechocinek, where mostly at the end we can find bench shell where people can listen to music. This is how it is organized in spa resorts. This very traditional, classical spa resorts in Poland, still financed by the state. And what are the opportunities and challenges for health tourism in Poland in the light of the Delphi study I have been conducting with Visegrad project in 2020 and 2021? In the second round final round, 7 interviewees took part, and they were spa managers and mayors of spas, and they answered some questions. And it turned out that the challenge is that the quality and level of services, as well as new products of fundamental importance, especially for commercial and foreign customers. And contrary to domestic guests, non-commercial guests, who benefit from stays reimbursed by the National Health Fund, make their choices depending on the spa resort's specialization, like treatment profile and attractive location. So that's the difference. Besides, the respondents indicated the following conflicts that can appear in spa resorts: state-funded and self-financing guests. Between these segments, between generations, Eastern European and Western tourists, families and individuals. So it is a challenge for spa managers to reconcile these differences, which is not so easy, I think. Next thing, respondents agree that wellness concept still functions in Poland as a short experience, not a lifestyle. So people go home and make the same mistakes. They do not introduce new habits. So I think that's the big problem. The main challenge will be also the transformation of spas into wellness spa resorts. Another problem will be the change in the attitude of the state authorities, which is connected with the previous one, towards spa medicine, which is still treated as a strictly medical field with nurses, with doctors, without taking into account the spiritual needs and well-being. So, well, this is a kind of tradition mentality, and I think it needs time after our transformation. And the next thing is that it was agreed that during and after the COVID-19 pandemic, emphasis should be placed on the development of spa medicine, and that all individuals would like to visit spas for recovery, prevention, and to boost their immune system. So I can find an advantage of this, of course, terrible pandemic for spa resorts, that in the case of Polish and European spa resorts, the coronavirus pandemic is the historical time for revival and recognition of the importance of medical spa resorts, which were forgotten by people. So now they come back into life. And now let's take medical tourism under the microscope. Maybe it is not so developed as in other countries that presented their stories, but it works somehow. Medical tourism in Poland develops mainly in agglomerations with access to the airport, what you can see on a map, and in cities with 100 kilometers from the airport, and also in the mentioned spa towns. It is written to the left at the corner in this menu with numbers, right? So they are here in the southwest. Profile of medical tourists, domestic and foreign medical tourists.
Anna, sorry for interruption, but we are kind of running late. Could you please?
Yes, sorry, I just finishing. Yes. So, so we are mainly connected with, when we talk about medical tourism, with hospitals and clinics. Okay, sure. The time is ending. I'm sorry for being for talking too much, but I wanted to explain you our things. and I invite you to Poland for spa resorts. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have any questions, please.
Yes, dear Diana, thank you for your comprehensive and beautiful presentation. It's like we came to Poland with your presentation. Also, I want to visit your thermals and spa as soon as possible. It is very important that the thermals are financed and budget the government. I think it's so beautiful. Unfortunately, we not have the system in our country. We know that Poland was especially good in wellness, thermal and spa tourism, and we want to listen to you. And you exhibit us, and I want to thank to you. We know that the Associate Professor Diana has important studies in field of health tourism, and we honored to invite her. Finally, do you have any question? Donis, yes.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation, Diana. It was really good. And also you have really beautiful country. I've been there like 2 years ago. I've been in Krakow, and at that time, we rented a bike and we traveled all the countries with my friends, and we really satisfied your country. But when you show the map of Poland, I was shocked because I didn't know that the thermal in Krakow. Because before the Poland, we went to Budapest, Hungary, and then we went to thermal baths. You know, there is a famous thermal there. But in Krakow, we didn't see any advertisements, any commercial. What do you think about it? Do like government or private sectors, do they advertise enough or not?
Yes, you are right. In Krakow, in Sposzowice, this is the district of Krakow. We have this spa resort, a very small one. It's not this is the only spa resort which is a district, not a city, but this is, let's say, incorporated into Krakow.
Okay.
But as you correctly noticed, it's not promoted enough, not at all. I agree, definitely. And I will try to do my best to repair it.
Okay, you can do, because that's what, because
I will fight. Yes, I will struggle. You know, we women in this communist country, let's say post-communist country, we have to struggle a lot. Yes, I will do my best. You are right. This is true, definitely, and I'm really I don't feel well with this fact. Krakow is famous because of culture, because of lots of things there, but not because of spa resort, unfortunately, and it should be. So, but thank you that you just noticed this. Yes, I will. Yeah.
You should do your best, because now I have to visit one more time Krakow.
Sure. Yes, I invite you with my whole heart.
Okay, thank you.
Pleasure. I've been to Turkey several times too, so.
7 times. Nice. Okay.
Sure, of course.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you very much.
I have one more thank you to you, Adrian. Adrian, we want to listen to your voice, and I have one question for you. Yes.
Can be a problem, because I'm not sure whether he can answer. Sorry, Adrian, I talk instead of you, but I think he speaks other languages, but not English. Maybe he knows English, mostly written English, but not speaking English.
I can translate. Dobry den, Adrian.
Dzień dobry.
Dzień dobry, sorry. Let's check.
Yes. I have one short question. Okay, dear Diana, I wondered that has Poland's health tourism been affected by Ukraine and Russian war?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry. Could you repeat, please?
Okay. Has Poland's health tourism been affected by the Ukraine and Russian war? Ukraine and Russian war?
You know, nowadays, you mean if I understood correctly, we have really many tourists from Ukraine and
Yes.
from Russia.
Yes.
So that's true. They are thousands and of them now in especially in Krakow, in big cities. So we really have many tourists. Let's say, I don't know really how to call them, tourists or maybe even some inhabitants. My neighbors are Ukrainian now in my flat. So they are buying houses here and flats. So it's hard to say whether they are tourists or inhabitants or citizens, whatever to call them. So I think it's hard to make any statistics for them now, but we have them thousands. So when we walk the streets, we mostly hear Ukrainian, not Polish now. And, but I mean, we both nations, we try to learn our differences, traditions, and try to cooperate. So it looks really good. Yeah, they are open. They visit Krakow. They visit some monuments, and they try to live here in a normal way. So yeah, so we are like now they call Poland like Poland Ukraine. You know, it's like now Poland is connected. We are like of two nations right now, we can say. So
yes, thank you, Diana. Thank you again for your valuable contribution. It was so nice to listen and meet to you and Adrian. I hope we will come to Krakow as soon as, and also we invited to Turkey. Nice to meet you again. Hope to see you again in another organization. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Which university do you work, Diana?
Pardon me?
Which university do you work?
I work at University of Science and Technology in Krakow.
Okay.
This is the shortage, like AG. I don't AGH. I don't know if you heard about this.
No.
But well, this is technical university, okay. Right? This is very technical and well known in Europe as a technical. This is a huge university.
Yeah, I've been in the technical university before. I've been in Brno University of Technology in Brno.
In Brno. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Right. So it's maybe, let's say, equivalent, something like this. Right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nice to meet you again. Yes, now we move on to last speaker. We have panelists from Malaysia. Professor Hasanol. I hope I speak. It's true. Your name, Hasanol Hok. Yes. His talk on potential medical tourism in Malaysia. Now I introduce the professor. The professor will explain one of the topics that I am very serious about. We know that Malaysia is very good in health tourism, and I am serious about their system, and I serious to halal marketing and Islamic marketing at medical tourism. Professor Hasanol Hok works at the Department's Business Administration at the International Islamic University, Malaysia. He is marketing professor and works halal marketing. He is editor-in-chief of International Tourism and Hospitality Journal and Singapore Journal of Scientific Research. Also, he is regional editor South Asia at the International Journal of Islamic Marketing and Branding and Branding ASEAN Journal of Scientific Research. Yes, Professor, you are welcome, and we are listening to you.
Okay, very good night. Actually, it is a late night for me. It is already been 5 minutes before to the 12 p.m. It's okay. So fine. So can you see to me my slide?
Yes.
So actually, just I'm talking about the health tourism. Health tourism actually, it is been, people have thought about the tourism industry with the normal tourism industry before that. They are actually the thinking like that way. Tourism can be normal, people can move from the one country to another country. But apparently it is come to the different concept. Health tourism, actually, one of the new dimensions come to the tourism industry. Right. So right now, tourism sector actually it is the biggest, one of the biggest sector in Malaysia. Those are earning the huge foreign currency, and their national economy is contributing to the health tourism industry. Practically, it is most of the time they're targeting to the third world country, Asian country compared to the developed country. So outline of the presentation just I'm giving about the brief health tourism or medical tourism, that is what is the changing, the wind of changing the Malaysian perspective. The first, health tourism industry, what is the concept? Key feature of the health tourism, what is the feature is in terms of health tourism is coming, type of medical tourism, what kind of medical tourism actually they're focusing in terms of one market. The Malaysian medical tourism market and overview, of course, how the market is coming and which is the country's highest tourism is coming. Then medical tourism prices, we can do comparison because it is sustainability issue is coming. It is competitiveness effect is coming. So that's why we can see the
Sorry. Your slide is not moving. Just we see the cover right now. And now it's okay.
That's right. So medical tourism, finally we are coming, what is the advantage and disadvantage that proper comes. So finally, we can come to the conclusion effect. These are the effects we can discuss with you. Anyway, so medical tourism, we see the surrounding. There is a lot of actual factors. The dominating, it is the combined becoming medical tourism successive things. So that's why you see there can be the involved the broker, insurance, provider, even travel accommodation, conference, media, financial things, and websites. So when we are going to the medical tourism promoting, these are the issues actually coming and promoting to the countryside. And even sometimes highly involved some of the broker, they bring it to the particular one country for the another country patient. So here is actually the main focus is coming, how the medical tourism infrastructure in Malaysia, how their service quality is providing, how their efficiency is coming, the questionable thing is coming. So in this point of view, we are coming to the key feature, medical tourism in Malaysia perspective, that is medical tourist size. How big the tourist size? How many number of the tourists every year they come in this country? Of course, it is a large number of the tourists coming. Characteristics of the medical tourism. What kind of characteristics? The following, the shift toward the pattern, more developed nation traveling to the less developed country. Actually, previously, it was obviously more developed country. Actually, the people is moved to the developed country for the treatment. So now the pattern is changing. Developed country or almost developed country, people also moving to the underdeveloped or developing countries due to the cost competitiveness. Here is the two things. When you are coming to the sustainability issue, it's coming to two things. One is cost competitiveness. One is, let's say, quality competitiveness. If you maintain your quality, but cost can be reasonable, of course, people is thinking to travel that particular country. And Malaysia is a like country, which is a country tropical environment. And people is mostly highlighting their normal tourism. At the same time, the purpose is serving for medical tourism. So both the tourism combined with the running same time. So that's why the traditional, it is coming, now it is coming developed nation countries, people also moving forward to the developed nation. So reason for medical tourism nowadays for what? New enabling, that is infrastructure, they developed, it is an affordable condition, accessible travel and readily available information over the internet. So that's the infrastructure already well developed. All kind of information they provided. And basically the target market country, the huge quantity of people are traveling for the medical tourism. So industry situation is coming, industries development, both the private business sector as well as government sector. Both the developed and developing nations have been infrastructural that is promoting medical tourism potentiality, and it is lucrative source of foreign revenue in this case. So there is two types of actually tourism that indicated. One is inbound, one is outbound. So inbound, when it is coming, means people are coming from other country to Malaysia for medical treatment purpose. It can be the variety of the treatment. But outbound is coming when they moving to the outside their people. That is called outbound. So their whole tourism sector, it is under this coming to Ministry of Health, actually, that they controlling the overall, all the quality control, even service quality, so the monitoring and the promoting all these things under the Health Ministry of Health. Then efficiency of the widespread, how efficiently they handle it. Medical tourism actually, if your question is coming sustainability, then it is coming to the efficiently and widespread. Because if you're able to service properly, then you can sustain long time and attracting to the much more to tourists from the neighboring countries. So integrated healthcare solution they providing, revenue they generating, potentiality, and multinational client they attracting to the different countries. Of course, they're maintaining the quality, but they're providing to the comparatively low cost medical expense compared to the other neighboring countries like Singapore. So Singapore, one of the top medical tourist countries. That is, I think that if I don't mistake, it is number 2 in the world ranking now. But their expensive from the Malaysian comparison is too much different. So they're maintaining the quality, at the same time they're offering to them reasonably low cost. So that's why this is the main advantage they're getting, and also other attractive tourism attributes they're offering in this particular sector. So medical tourism market and overall in Malaysian case, we can just explain here while visiting the patient facilities, medical equipment, different type of actually medical products they offer. So while they visiting the Malaysia, traveler can undergo for the medical checkup and use to the facilities. What are the facilities they're providing involving, let's say, preventive wellness, spas, cosmetics, or dental surgery, etc., other things. And equipment in terms of that one, they're telling medical offers the choice of state of the private medical center, and they boosting to the impressive area of the sophisticated actually diagnostic and part of the diagnostic that particular disease. And finally, different types of medical product they offer you. Popular medical procedure they are available in the Malaysian case, include eye surgeries, orthopedics, cosmetic surgery, urology, neurology, So different type of actually the providing oncology or cardiology. So different types of actually variety actually treatment particularly important. So anyway, now how the Malaysian market, the increasing the demand, leading the medical market. The number of medical tourists arriving in Malaysia and increasing each and every year. That the trend we can see it. Last 10 years, actually Malaysia is not an old player of the medical tourism. They are the quite new player, about 7 to 10 years maximum. They attracted to the medical tourism. And number is gradually every year they increasing the trend. We can show that later on the particular graph. So that's the supporting availability of the good healthcare infrastructure, government support, and promoting actually the promotional program and well-skilled actually medical professional. It is possible. So leading the sources of the market, who is the leading? The neighboring countries, that is like Indonesia. The huge population, big country, and they are the main attractive to medical tourists from this particular countries coming to Malaysian market as a medical tourism. So they taking the treatment, cardiology, orthopedics, and then high demanding like Malaysia and Gulf countries. Even Gulf countries also, they come in another advantage because of Islamic some imports due to the Middle East market they capture. So it is a concept is coming, some medical treatment also halal haram issue is coming in this particular case. That's why they attracted to the Middle East market also. So India is the second leading sources market for Malaysian medical tourism, and huge quantity actually the population is coming from this particular country. Even as well as Japan stand third position Malaysian medical tourism market, closely followed by China and Hong Kong. And in terms of other market, United States, United Kingdom, Libya, Nepal, Bangladesh, Iran, Australia, even as emerging market becoming the Malaysian tourism. So this is the picture, overall picture of Malaysian tourism market. And you can see gradually this is increasing trend until 2019, after that the pandemic situation, that is movement control order, that's like drop to the medical tourism. So maybe hopefully it can be overcome now to 2022. So gradually we see that drop. It is always actually increasing. Even nothing any the dropping and again increasing. So that's the potentiality high that is the country that medical tourism issue. So now you see the overall picture, the cost. If I say that about the cost competitiveness, you see the United States, India, Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, other countries, comparatively, they're offering the more cost effective and cost competitiveness. So that's the majority Asian countries. Those are economy is middle class, even the underdeveloping or developing states, they are major target market expansion. And the huge quantity population or tourists each and every year is coming because of that cost competitiveness. At the same time, they get a better service compared to their neighboring countries. Right. So now you see that practically it is coming medical tourism some advantage and disadvantages. What is the pros and cons? Advantage is cost and expense. It is the major actually the advantage for the patient. It is truly expensive to get treatment in the home country, especially if you are the developed countries like USA, UK, Canada, there's Australia. This type of country is a cost treatment is very high. Secondly, same budget with this recreation. Also, they can do the dual thing at a time. They can do the treatment at the same time as a tourist country, they can visit as a tourist destination. Thirdly, their advantage is saving and high rate. That's why getting the medical surgery done abroad, that is might be up to the 70%, 50 to 70% their medical treatment cost. That's why the targeted to the Malaysian medical tourism sector. So, development home country. Moreover, the choosing the medical tourism is a treatment. That's why the providing is several actually the option. That option is choosing from given the boost of the infrastructure development practically. Equipment opportunity, as I said earlier, healthcare, actually the malpractices, it is practically every industry, they have a benefit to the domestic health tourism, also not be a junction. That's why it is several benefits. One cannot be ignored to the potential healthcare malpractice and follow-up to the proactive to the particular treatment. Right. So must understand about the facilities and as well as legal issues. So these are the infrastructure is properly they develop it about the medical tourism sector. So medical tourism, there's available information, they different sources they provide. How? It is once they get more information about the growing trade, health tourism industry in Malaysia, international healthcare facilities, infrastructure, actually the facilities, even availability, different kind of treatment, doctor appointment, detailed medical tourism process, browsing online sources. It is available to develop the website. And any corner of the world, they can get the all kind of information and possibility to getting the best medical services. Finding the best medical services easy and possible in medical tourism facilities in this particular country. So finally, we are coming to the conclusion how the lack of actually the systematic data, they are unable to still, they are the new player of the medical tourism sector. That's why they have some lacking, lack of actually preservation systematic data. It is lack of actually data concerning health service trade need to be significant in health care system. They need to be more advanced in development. And finally, need to be potential resource about this particular video. Of course, some of the academicians or let's say company-oriented some of the research, they need to come forward. Some project or symposium research has kept to the place that develop medical tourism. And it can be the more flourishing, there is potentiality in terms of bodies and invest that research in this particular area. So that's all the overall actually giving about the Malaysian picture, the tourism sector. But they are not a very older player, so but gradually they're doing very well. And their major target market is Asian market, Middle East market, and market. But their main competitive situation is Singapore and India. They're the biggest player in this South Asian region. That's all my presentation. Cannot hear. Cannot hear to you.
Sorry, now I am okay. Thank you for this attractive and comprehensive presentation. Your presentation contained very important information. In fact, as the last presentation, you discussed medical tourism in the global sense, and you summarized the potential of all of the countries. Also, I thank you too. The continent of Asia and especially Malaysia has a very important potential at the both of general tourism and health tourism, I think. So Malaysia place in the health tourism market is very important. And your thank you too for accepting us. We are also grateful for the time difference. I think we should cooperate more as academics in other countries. We invite our valuable panelists to the Turkey and hope to that our cooperation will continue. Do you have any question? Deniz, do you have question?
I have no question.
Also,
I'm
tired. Deniz is tired.
He's tired. A lot of questions he asks.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
So,
also, my big dream is come to Malaysia. I want
Most
so
welcome.
much. Yes,
Most
thank you.
welcome. And I have you have my email account, everything. Once
Yes.
you come to Malaysia, of course, you can be communicated.
Yes.
And I have plenty of actually the research partner with these two kids. Some of the university lecturers, they're always doing the publication with me in terms of medical tourism, other sectors, but in marketing. So I have good communication with these two kids, some of the research.
You are so gentle. You are so gentleman. Yes, thank you.
I'm very grateful you invited to me and join your that is the conference as one of the speakers. So hopefully it can be the good potential, and I think until tomorrow, right? Or day after tomorrow, your event is
Yes. Yes, dear college, we have come to the end of our panel. We discussed very important issue with very valuable panelists. Our panel was very productive and full, I think. Thank you to our participants and panelists. I hope we will see you again. See you at another organization. Nice to meet you, dear panelists. Evet, panelimizin sonuna I say to thank you Turkish. Panelimizin sonuna geldik. Muhammed'e, Hatice Sen'e ve Mansur Rahman'la Taşkın Hocam'a teşekkür ediyorum. Deniz, emeklerine sağlık. Teşekkür ediyorum. Thank you too. See you again.
See you again.
Yes.
See you. Thank you.
See you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thanks.
And also it was the last panel, last session. Our congress is done, it's finished. But tomorrow there will be some courses about hosts, and I don't remember right now the title. And thank you for your contributions. And I hope we will see you again next year, next congress. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nice to meet you also.
Bye. Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao.